Hello again, everyone. My name is Mark Cabrera, working with you guys today with a seminar that deals with success, the qualities of successful people. Accountability. I meet so many agents out there. Oh, I could have been successful if you actually did this and did this and did this. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, whatever works for you. And the reason why you probably didn't pick it up is because you are so busy hearing yourself. The reality of it is, if you want to be successful in this business, come in not knowing anything or make it look like that you don't know anything. Because somebody who thinks they know everything, nobody would want to teach you. Just remember that. I already know that. If you hear this a lot from people sometimes, like, oh, I already know that. Oh, I've already done that. It didn't work. So am I going to continue telling them it didn't work? Because this is what could be the reason why. And if we adjust this, we could actually have a better chance of getting to where you need to go. And you may be able to influence that person to sign a listing or actually sign up with you or be able to buy a house or ratify a contract. No, I already know that. It doesn't work. Okay? It doesn't work. Great. But guess what? In the back of my head, man, I know that stuff works. But guess what? That person will never learn it because they already know it. So why would I teach it? And if you were in my shoes, you'd be feeling the same way. If the person doesn't feel like you're a benefit to them, they will never learn anything from you. It's just simple. But accountability is a very important factor of successful people because by acknowledging that you make a mistake, you have a better chance of correcting the mistake. By acknowledging that you have some things that you did not do correctly, right? There's a way for you to figure out how to correct it. Failures are okay, but if you don't recognize the failure, you cannot correct something that you don't recognize. So accountability is very important. And also, it creates predictability on you, which means when people actually understand that you make mistakes and you acknowledge that you make mistakes, then they are looking at you and saying, okay, it's okay for me to make mistakes too. So the pressure is not really like so much that you have to be perfect every time because no one is, right? But it allows predictability of your character to others, which helps people to follow what you're trying to accomplish. Remember, I told you from before, successful people are not by themselves. Successful people are the ones that are able to put together processes and put together people's skills in different areas and maximizing those skills to the benefit of a vision that you created. That's basically what successful people do. If you look at across the board, it's the same story every single time. You look at Oprah Winfrey, you look at every single person that are very, very successful out there. They have an empire of thousands of people working under them, or thousands or hundreds of people actually doing the things that the technical areas that they normally would be doing. So if you're looking at successful teams in our real estate, it's the same thing. You have people doing certain areas. You have buyer's agents, you have listing agents, you have photographers, you have designers, interior decorators, you name it, you have it. You have people that are doing social media for you. You're doing some marketing, you're doing SEO. I mean, you name it, you have it. Everybody is specialized in a particular area. Now, here's the thing. I notice there are people out there that they look at their work and they think they already know what they know. So of course that's one issue that they're having. But the other issue is our ego gets the best of us because just because we think we're right, we want to impose that correctness to others. But there's always an appropriate place and appropriate time to do that. And when you don't do it correctly, you can ruin a relationship that could have helped you with all the rest of the transactions. One thing I can tell you, transaction coordinators, people that are actually handling scheduling for settlements, man, those are my best friends. Loan processors, those are my best friends. As a matter of fact, If I had an opportunity to take them out for breakfast, I will take them out for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Why? Because those are crucial parts of my business that if I ever need to pull a favor from them, guess what? If they like me and and I'm sweet to them and I'm nice to them, and if they make mistakes once in a while, I'm not kind of like, I'm not a stickler about, oh, I'm right and you're wrong kind of thing. You have a better chance to get more out of every transaction. Make sure every transaction closes. Accountability to yourself is more important than trying to hold others accountable to your agenda. Okay? If I start imposing what I think should be right for the next person, guess what I just did? I just ruined that relationship. Because that person at the end of the day, in the beginning might listen, especially if I'm paying them a salary, but eventually they'll do the minimum just to get away. And eventually they won't even do it when you're not looking. You see how important leadership is when you're looking at it? You see how important accountability is? Accountability is more applicable to yourself than to other people holding them accountable. You can have a system to hold them accountable, but doesn't mean that it's going to work just because they have to be accountable for their actions. It's much, much easier to deal with. So one of the things I always advocate when you're dealing with a buyer, and the buyer always asks us, how much should we offer? Good question. Here, how many days on the market? Oh, there's 5 offers on this property. Look, 2 days on the market, right? Now, I have a general rule that I do with like every offer that comes in, I put another 3,000 because there's no way for us to know what's in the offers. So I kind of like over the years formulated a formula that if you have 5 offers, it's going to be about 10, 15 grand. But I mean, that's up to you what you want to offer, whatever you're comfortable. Sometimes people want to remove appraisal contingencies, others don't. I mean, I don't recommend removing appraisal contingency, but if a client of mine, which 2 months ago asked me if I could remove appraisal contingency, I said, it's up to you. And the person says, yeah, I want to remove appraisal contingency because it looks like we lost 3 other contracts because people remove appraisal contingencies, right? I was like, great, okay. If that's what you want, that's what I will do. Remove appraisal contingency. I don't recommend it, but if that's what you want. You see the difference? I didn't tell them, hey, remove appraisal contingency, we can get a chance to get the house. No. I get them to experience this. I get them to tell me because I don't want to be accountable for their action. It's much nicer if they're accountable to theirs, isn't it? It's more convincing for somebody to actually go through a transaction knowing the fact that they're the one who made the decision and they accounted for their own decision, not you accounting for their decision. You see the difference? Because there's agents out there that push. They're so pushy. They're like looking at this from a sales perspective. Remember, if you want to be the best top producing agent in this state or this office or one of the top 10, 20 people here that are actually producing a lot of transactions, if you want to get to that point, right, what you need to understand that let your clients make their decision. Be influential, and remember, you are a consultant. Don't try to have the standards put on them that you have for yourself. Your standards, you need to actually admit to mistakes, admit to all the things that you actually get to do. But your standard does not necessarily become their standard. Biggest mistake a lot of agents make. Accountability is not for others, it's for you. Okay? Being accountable brings a liability and understanding of situations as well. I mean, looking at it from every situation that you run into, when you hold yourself accountable, everything, all the defense mechanism will naturally calm down. Because now, there's no more blame game, you already admitted it. It's hard to argue with a person when they agree with you. I mean, that's the best way to actually look at it from because you will make mistakes. You're a human being, right? At some point. But the biggest problem people have is their pride. Even though they're wrong, they don't want to admit it, and they will never apologize even though they know they're wrong. They're just going to be nicey to you next time you see them and be like, yeah, really? You really think just being nice to me next time after you actually insult me 15 times will all of a sudden change everything? No, If you actually came up to me and says, you know what, I am so sorry, I was having a bad day the other day and I said things I shouldn't have said, my apologies. You know how much nicer that is? That you actually come up to the person that way, and then the person all of a sudden will say, you know what? Well, thank you for saying that. I do appreciate that. And then you can have a normal conversation. But don't expect after you insult the person or demean the person or put them down, you come back to them like nicey, okay, and all of a sudden everything is okay. It doesn't work like that, guys. Accountability is very important for you to recognize that if you actually did something wrong, admit it and move on. So that's basically boils down to accountability. That's another characteristic that we need to all have if we were to be successful. Consistency on the things that you set. So when you create your vision, you get yourself motivated to actually get there. You get it to the point it's internalized and you believe in it. Then you set out your goals that you break it down into bite-sized pieces, right? And then you start working on it consistently. So what I'm saying that is when you broke it down that you're going to make 20 phone calls every day, let's say, every single day, do it consistently for a particular time frame. If I were you guys, I would actually set a beginning time and an end time, and then when you get that, you evaluate and you do it again. Don't set it like it's forever, like it's happening like that. It's going to be happening like that all the time. It's much better that if you can focus on a deadline and then you set yourself up to do it because you have a particular deadline. Hence the reason why I advocate for vacations, personal time for yourself, and do it more often so that you have a deadline, because that's actually a physical deadline you create yourself for yourself if you actually set vacation. Last year, I took 14 weeks of vacation, and within those 14 weeks of vacation, in between those, I had to work hard because I knew after 3 weeks, I had to go away. So my goal at that point is I set my agenda, what I'm going to be doing, and every single day I went at it. And then on that day that I'm going away, bye-bye. Think about something else. Be able to actually regroup, be able to innovate, be able to think, create systems, be able to actually, think back what I did right and what I did wrong. And then when I come back from vacation, I'm refreshed, I'm excited. And, I took myself out of the business for me to be able to see the business. Because otherwise, you're in the business with your head in sand. You can't see everything around you. This is the importance of taking time off, even for a few days, for crying out loud. People don't like, oh, I gotta work. Look, you're not getting paid per hour in real estate. You're getting paid per transaction, okay? And your transaction doesn't go away overnight. Your transaction takes 30 days minimum to go to settlement, whether it's a sale or a listing, right? So keep in mind, in between that, you could have 1 or 2 days that you actually take some time off to really kind of detach from the business to be able to see exactly what you could be doing better. Because each time that you put an input to improve your business, that area of improvement will build up to the next improvement that you do, and eventually the whole system runs with minimal effort. And once you get to that point, then you can do multiple transactions. That's how you see people doing 1 or 2 transactions a year. All of a sudden, boom, they get it. They understand exactly how things work. And all of a sudden, they're doing 5, 10 transactions every month. And that's literally possible even just with one assistant, because I've done that. I did 92 transactions with one assistant in 1 year. I mean, is it a lot of work? Absolutely. Did I take time off? Yeah, I took 10 weeks of vacation. Actually, 9 weeks of vacation to go along with that. So the best years I've had, if I look back, it's the most vacations I took. Each time I took a vacation, it actually made my business better somehow. And people don't see the correlation between how your mind works and how things are. The more stressed you are, the less people want to be around you, isn't it? So guess what? If you're stressed every day, nobody want to be around you. You're just, I think they have this terminology called Karen nowadays. You're just like always upset, and there's no sense for that. There's no reason for you to be upset. So, being consistent is not easily achieved because of life's distractions. And that's really part of it. Because as much as you want to be consistent, we always gravitate back to what's easy. It's easy to get into Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and the news, and just literally get on our phones and just pass time. But if you can make use of your time and remove the not to do list, I don't know if you guys have ever done that. You make a list of not to do, okay, and you write it down. It's kind of nice to see it, because once you start doing it, it catches you like, oh my goodness, I'm not supposed to do this. So you put it on a not to do list. If you're going to be spending time on yourself and you want to do something, non-productive, fine. Work on your not to do list, okay? Because you're not supposed to be doing anything that's productive on your personal time. Because what your personal time does, it's supposed to separate your mind from what you're stressed about. And our business is a very stressful business, especially when you starting to get a lot more transactions going. It becomes a very stressful business. Be consistent with your daily goals. This is the key to anybody who's successful out there. And you can talk to any person that interviewed or any interviews of successful people. That's one thing that's certain. They're consistent on their daily goals. They have a particular pattern that they're running, a particular habit that's actually building up every day. Okay? And whatever you do, make sure you write things down so that you can stay consistent. Because our minds run in emotions. And there are days that you don't feel like doing something, right? But if you had it written down when you were excited about something, when you read it again, it gets you excited, gets you going, and keeps you going. Growth and personal development. Showing up here at this training is a personal development. You might have heard me say things that I'm saying to you now, but you have to understand, how much of it do you really apply to your business? How much do you really do in your day-to-day life that we talk about that can apply to you? And when you walk away from here, how much do you apply? See, there's a quote from Stephen Covey: knowledge is potential power. And the reason why it's potential power is knowledge is potential power unless it's applied. So you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you're not applying it to the world, it's meaningless. It's all just in your head. Successful people read all the time. I'm talking about reading physically or audiobooks. I'm an audiobook person. When I'm actually have my own moments, I just plug in and I learn so many things about so many subjects. And it's so helpful when I'm sitting down with a client and the client happened to be into a particular hobby and I know so much about that hobby. So I start asking them questions. They start telling me about all these things that they're doing about it and all that stuff. They get excited because I know the subject, right? And the reason why I know the subject is because I make it a point for me to learn the subject. I'm actually always interested in learning things that I'm not familiar with. That's just innate in me. But when you're looking at successful people, they have a tendency to constantly innovate. And for them to innovate, they need to learn. They need to learn what's out there in the world. They need to learn the latest innovation. They need to learn the latest technologies, the way certain processes are being dealt with. In real estate, the same thing. You need to learn how to actually create processes that'll make more efficient and be able to bring in leads and be able to convert leads, be able to meet up with clients and the best practices for you to be able to work with a client, so then they keep working with you and they ratify contracts. In a market like this, you need to relearn everything, how to win contracts. If you're actually 5, 6, 7 offers, how do you win that contract? Because otherwise you'll be spinning your wheels, writing 25 offers and going nowhere, right? So it's very important for you to understand that there's always better ways of doing things. And the more you research these stuff, the more likely that you're going to be able to create more success for yourself. This is the reason why successful people tend to read. Successful people understand psychology. When I say psychology, it doesn't mean psychology as a psychologist, but they understand how to interact and engage with people, because that's the way they're going to be able to influence.